thanks to the booksellers also and SIBA. So like Dominique said, I'm Alexa. I work for Fonfon. We're a small team, so we all have to fill different roles. It's hard to put a title on it, but I would say I'm an editor and in charge of communications mostly. Fonfon is a publishing house that wants to spark the joy of reading in children from ages 3 to 9. We specialize in educational and entertaining books made entirely in Canada with eco-friendly materials. Also, for every book, we have an educational kit that can be downloaded directly from our website for free. We embrace a vision of sustainability, and that's why we only release a limited number of publications every year, around four picture books per year, I would say. So the first two titles that I will present are new and were published this spring. They're also part of our Stories for Laughing collection, which means that their only goal is to make children laugh. Well, let's start with Un rhume de cheval, written by Pierrette Dubé and illustrated by Enzo. So this story takes place in a medieval kingdom reigned over by King Godfrey. One day his horse Bucephale sneezes, then not long after, all of the royal court seems to be struck by a mysterious illness. So people's ears are growing longer, their feet are turning into hooves, and they feel this irresistible urge to gallop. Could they be as sick as a horse? I just love the wordplay there. With fearsome enemies closing in fast, the kingdom is in trouble. What's funny is we actually accepted Pierrette Dubé's manuscript before the pandemic, so it's really a coincidence here, but it's even more relevant now, I guess. So how about that? This book is one of my favorite. I just love the contrast between the richness of the writing and the absolute absurdity of the story. There's also a lot of movement in Enzo's illustrations, which I love. So we'll keep going with Les Oui-Dire. So Les Oui-Dire. This one is brand new. It explores popular beliefs and pays tribute to oral tradition. Daniel Chaplon's style is funny and poetic, and the text rhymes, so that allows different educational uses that are also fun to do with kids. Many well-known characters and creatures make appearances in this story, so kids can enjoy identifying them. So I'll just show you. So here we have ogres getting ready to eat some children, as ogres do, I guess. And then we have the Tooth Fairy, and the one falling on his head is Prince Charming, though not so charming right now. And here, it's probably my favorite of the book. So we have a grumpy dad who looks like a vampire when he hasn't had his coffee yet. So to me, that's a very relatable character. The next two titles are in our Stories for Living collection. So they tackle sensitive topics. Ma Maison Tête is a story inspired by the author's childhood with attention deficit disorder. So in the introduction, he uses dots to illustrate the way his mind works. So he writes, imagine all these dots are things to do, watch, listen to, and understand. Some of them are much more important and urgent than others. But how can you tell which ones are which? Now think about everything you see and everything you hear, everything you feel and everything you think. Imagine all that changing into little dots too. Imagine the chaos. So the chaos is a recurrent concept in this book, and we see the dots often in the illustrations. So Vincent, the young character, moves a lot with his family all the time. So he thinks of his head as his house, where each room has a different purpose. For example, the dark room is where you can get away from all the noise and the chaos and get some sleep. But the thing is, it's a very tiny room and it's hard to find sometimes. On the other hand, the light room is where anything creative is possible. So in other words, I would say that each room represents a different state of mind. So at the beginning, Vincent has to recite a story he has learned by heart. But when he gets up in front of the class, his mind goes completely blank and he can't remember a thing. So that hurts a lot his self-esteem. It makes him feel sad and ashamed and like he can't do anything right. So reading Ma Maison Tête really helps to grasp the daily challenges of people with ADD on a child level. And it also allows neurodivergent people to relate to the protagonist. So the book won the 2021 TD Canadian Children's Literature Award. That's a really long title. And will soon be published in English by Orca Book publishers. Also, you can listen to the audio version for free on the audio app, OHDIO, it's the CBC app. So I'll keep going with Simone sous les ronces, written by Maud Neveu-Villeneuve and illustrated by Sandra Dumais. Sandra Dumais also illustrated Les Oui-Dire that we saw earlier. So Simone sous les ronces explores the theme of anxiety, a topic unfortunately relevant for an increasing number of children. Simone has thorns that grow in her stomach and keep her from doing anything whenever she feels scared or worried. She'll often feel the need to take a nap, or she thinks that people are going to be mad at her for very trivial things. And the worst thing is she's the only one that can see her thorns. It can be triggered by many things, like being late, going to the dentist, talking to people she doesn't know. But it seems to happen more often when she's at school. But thanks to a really kind teacher, she learned of ways to tame them because she can't completely get rid of them. But the book gives a few tricks to not get rid of anxiety, but learn to control it, like breathing exercises and imagery. So the picture book won the 2020 Quebec Booksellers Award for Children's Literature, ages 0 to 5 category. And Orca Book recently published it in English. I think the title is Olivia Wrapped in Vines. Yeah. Oh, and also you can also listen to the audio version for free on the audio app since yesterday, I think. So it's pretty recent. Lastly, I'd like to present one book from our Stories for Reading collection. I would just like to explain the concept. So it's destined to early readers. Each series contains 4 books that are built around a caricature of the author, which becomes the main character. And for each series, we have a different pairing of an author with an illustrator. The stories are 12 pages in length, with 1 to 2 sentences per page and a repetitive structure, like you can see on the screen. They're also funny and have unexpected twists because we think that starting to read should be a fun experience, not because it doesn't have a lot of words that it should be boring. I chose to show Valérie aime la Planète because it's one of our most popular and it speaks of an important theme, ecology. All of the Valérie series speaks a little of ecology. However, there is plenty to choose from in the collection. We have many different themes, topics, and there are as many females as male characters and authors because it's kind of they're kind of autobiographies of the authors when they were younger. So yeah, that's it for me. Thank you for listening. My email address is in the PowerPoint if you want to reach out or ask questions. So I'll just.
Hello. First off, thank you to SIBA and Québec Édition for putting this together, this event. I think it's a first, but I think it's really important. Of course, as publishers from Quebec, we're very keen to see our books in your stores coast to coast. And I do, having traveled, having myself grown up in Saskatchewan, spent many years in Manitoba, then in Toronto, I'm very aware of the need for French children's books, again, in every province. La Montagne secrète is a company, a publishing house that I founded 22 years ago already, in the year 2000. The idea from the get-go was to bring together authors, illustrators, songwriters, singers, musicians, actors, all together around the table, and to really work one project at a time. So we're quite different from many publishing houses in the sense that we don't necessarily sign with an author and then follow the author over several books. We're very project driven. These projects vary. Sometimes we'll start from a musical concept and then work our way towards the story and the illustrations. We'll do the opposite. We like to, again, mix it all up. Sometimes we'll be producing the story at the same time as we record the music. I should point out that all of our books are, in fact, they're book CDs, hardcover books, picture books, 36 to 48 pages illustrated, with a CD, and also the more recent titles have a digital download code. And of course, all of our audio, whether it be the narrated stories or the music, are available on all of the streaming sites, streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple Music, etc. All right. So La Montagne secrète, translation, the secret mountain. We also have kind of what we say in French in devise. It's kind of like a motto. Petit trésor pour grandes oreilles, little treasures for big ears. So as I mentioned earlier, we're very audio driven, very music driven. There's always an audio component to what we do. We work, of course, with many different illustrators from Quebec, from elsewhere in Canada, from Europe, from Latin America. Also with authors from around the world. We're very interested. Also, one aspect is in terms of reaching out to different cultures. Of course, through music, we're interested in different musical styles: world music, folk music, jazz, classical. As you can see here, just a quick array of some of our titles. Le Chant des Oiseaux is a classical title. Grand Tintamarre are traditional songs. La Mémé et la Mouche are folk songs by Ellen Mills. Une Fête sous la Lune is by a singer-songwriter named Jérôme Minière and Christiane Duchesne. It's kind of an electro-pop sounding project. I will present just a few 5 titles I've kind of picked from our list, and the last one is something coming out in the fall. So one of our projects we're very proud of came out several years ago, Un cadeau pour Sophie, won the TD Prize. It's by one of our most celebrated and highly respected poets, songwriters in Quebec, Gilles Vigneault. Illustrations by Stéphane Jorisch. Here you have basically a full story and really deals on the notion of friendship, also aging, the transmission of culture, transmission of I guess just from generation to generation. It's an intergenerational story. There's also a narrated aspect. The story is narrated by James Heinemann, and we have 10 songs that go with the story. So actually, there's a song for each character in the book, and there's also a couple of theme songs. I should add, when we talk about schools in Canada, immersion schools, schools for the francophones, but also schools in the core French. There's such a need to listen, to hear the language spoken. And I think that our collection really serves that purpose well. You get a little view here of just what it looks like. It takes place by the sea. Un pique-nique au soleil, a picnic in the sun, Christiane Duchesne, Jérôme Minière, illustrations by Marianne Ferrer with several singers from Quebec, Ariane Moffat, who's quite well known here, Michel Rivard, who's extremely well known all the way back to the 1970s with Beau Dommage. Here, it really is like a musical. It's basically a book that goes story and song, songs interspersed throughout the story. It's about 50 minutes long, the actual recording that goes with the picture book. This gives you a little idea. It's reaching out maybe to a younger age group, more I'd say 3 to 6 years old. Whereas Un cadeau pour Sophie, a gift for Sophie that I presented earlier, is maybe more towards 7, 9. Oh. Fête de la musique, let's make some music. Carmen Campagne, I specifically wanted to present one of the titles that we have that features recordings by Carmen Campagne, who unfortunately passed away. We lost her 3 years ago. Carmen is originally from southern Saskatchewan, from Willabunch. She spent her many years as a French teacher in Manitoba and became very popular as a children's performer in French, of course in Quebec, but really across the country. She hosted a show on TFO for a certain number of years. This is a wonderful book where we have 6 traditional songs performed by Carmen, illustrated by Marie-Ève Tremblay. So it's about a 150-page book. For the younger ones, these recordings have often been used to teach French in the primary schools. And it's a very fun book. Marie-Ève Tremblay, who does the illustrations. I have a frog playing a banjo, in case you've never seen that before. Grand Tintamarre, chanson et comptine acadienne. Well, we move over to the land of Acadie, Marie's home turf. And these are songs from Prince Edward Island, from Nova Scotia, from PEI, from New Brunswick, l'Acadie, traditional songs, songs that have been passed on from generation to generation. The singers are all from the Maritimes, Joseph Edgar, Lisa Leblanc, Edith Butler, Wannabe Farmer, Vichten from PEI. This is really a songbook. It's just the lyrics of the songs that are illustrated. We felt it was really interesting to delve into the enormous, musical culture of the Maritimes, and especially, of course, in this case, of the French-speaking Maritimes. To give you a little bit an idea of what the illustrations look like. And the 5th title is a title coming out this fall. This is a new collection, a collection of 6 books with recordings, with narrated story and songs, where you discover different musical genres. The first one, Fait dodo dans un bayou de la Louisiane, which I've translated loosely as rocking it along the bayou down in Louisiana. This collection of 6 books with music, we begin featuring Cajun music in Louisiana, then we move to New Orleans and discover jazz, to then the 3rd book takes us to Nashville for country music, and then to Memphis for a little bit of rockabilly, up to Chicago for blues, and then finally ending in Gaspésie with La Bolduc and some good old traditional Québécois turlute music. It's also, the story is about a family of possums. Grandpa and Grandma Possum that are talking about their days as musicians when they used to tour North America. It's a really fun project. It's, you know, there's a lot of humor, a lot of kind of making jokes, poking fun at various well-known singers. Johnny Cash, for instance, becomes Johnny Cashtar, castar being a beaver in French. And so there's a lot of play on words in this collection. And the music, of course, is lovely. It's a cross of original compositions and traditional songs. So it also serves as a real introduction to all of these different musical genres. It's Fanny Bertium, who's done the illustrations, kind of a BD comic bande dessinée approach, which is new for us. Again, this is the first title of a collection of 6 that'll be coming out over the next 2 years. So that's it for me. To order our books, the easiest, most efficient way is through the Manda Group. We're distributed across Canada by Independent Publishers Group. And it's really through Manda that the orders should be placed. Voilà.
So first and foremost, if you guys don't already know our publishing house, we focus mainly on novels. We do a little bit of picture books, but it really is mostly novels for children, teenagers, and now we do also we have a collection for young adults. So we really much are at the forefront of the French market when it comes to children and teenage books, novels. And yes, our aim is just to make tomorrow's great reader by proving that books can be just as addictive as TV series. So I will go straight away and present the 4 books / series that we have for you guys. Okay, let's start. So the first novel / series, because there's the second book that's coming out very, very soon, is Niche. So it's written by Isabelle Piard, who's an Indigenous author. It talks about 2 characters, Léon and Eloise Mackenzie, who are brother and sister, and who live in the Indigenous community of Metzmekush. And sadly, their dad is diagnosed with cancer, which means that they have to move to a bigger community. So they moved to Wendake, which is near Quebec City. And over there, it's kind of their opportunity to start anew, to discover who they are. They're young teenagers who are kind of on a self-discovery journey. And Leo discovers a burning passion for hockey, and Eloise discovers her more rebellious side. She discovers a brand new passion for journalism. And so, yeah, it really is now a series that is all about self-discovery, about the things you discover about yourself when you're a teenager, and what happens when you're actually given the opportunity to give yourself a chance and to start anew. It is coming very soon in English as well. If you're interested in having them in English, we're going to be working with Scholastic for that. As I said, Isabelle Piard is an Indigenous author. She's a very well-known figure in journalism. She's worked for a lot of different newspapers. She worked for Radio Canada as well. So it's a super touching story that really does stay away from stereotypes and just presents what life as a young Indigenous person can be in really the same problems as we all have when we're teenagers, right? So it's a really touching story. It's a personal favorite of mine, and honestly, I encourage you guys to just read it for fun, even because I think everyone can take away a lot from this series. And yes, here you have what niche means. It has 2 meanings, and it's won a bunch of prizes already, a bunch of awards. So we're just very, very proud of that series. The next one is La Vie Compliquée de Léa Olivier, which is kind of our flagship series. It has had and keeps on having a tremendous success. We have 1.8 million books sold, which is massive. And it has been translated in 13 foreign languages, and it's been sold in 22 countries. But funnily enough, we don't have it on the market for the English part of Canada, which is something we're working on. It's something that we really want to have because it's a story that's very dear to our hearts, and we want to make it available to as many people as possible. So yes, it's our most successful series by far. We have a TV adaptation. There are already 2 seasons that are out. A 3rd one is coming. The author, if you don't already know her, she has written La vie compliquée de Léa Olivier, of course, but she also writes L'ABC des filles and Le mini ABC des filles, which are 2 guides, one for younger girls and one for teenagers, that talk about anything and everything that might interest teenage girls, things like school, like how to deal with your finances when you're a teenager, puberty, sexuality. We have interviews with inspiring women. So she has a very wide array of books that are mainly geared towards teenage girls. So this series, it has become kind of a staple of children's literature in French, really. I think that if you ask most teenagers here, they will, if they read even a little bit, they will probably tell you that they read La vie compliquée de Léa Olivier. It just talks about all the struggles and tribulations of Léa, who is kind of that feisty, outspoken teen who has a knack for getting into the craziest situations, of course. And yeah, she's just a really good, strong female character that we love to have. We are on the 15th book now. The 16th one will be coming soon. So as you can see, that is testament to the success that it's had, because the readership is still there. They still want more after 15 books. And I'm looking at my notes here. Yeah, like I said, it's already available in so many different languages that we wanna keep expanding her readership. Now, La théorie ratée de l'évolution, right now we only have 1 book that's out, but the 2nd one is also coming very soon. It's had like a really good response as soon as it was published. So we're really looking forward to see how this series does, because so far it's been doing very, very well. It's written by 2 authors, which is very interesting. There are 2 main characters. They each write 1 chapter from, like, I think, I don't remember which one writes which, but they each have their character basically. And so it takes place at Charles Darwin College, which is an alternative high school for neurodivergent teenagers. It kind of has a little bit of a Hogwarts vibe, but that's what we've been told. So for your readers who like Harry Potter, it does have some of that, because what's really particular about that school is that they use zootherapy with the kids. So the 2 main characters are each matched with an animal, and it talks about their relationship with this new animal that they have in their life, but also how they deal with their own problems. So there's Karma, who has anxiety problems and is a kleptomaniac, and there is Coralie, who has ADHD and just general behavioral problems. So not only do they have to deal with what most teenagers have to deal with, friendship, family, first love, but they also have their unique struggles that have to do with their personal mental health issues. So like I said, it was an instant success when it was published, and it really focuses on diversity and inclusivity, but it's always with a lot of humor, never preachy. And yeah, the characters are also 2 strong, feisty female characters. We love those at Les Malins. So yeah, it's a very great series, and it starts at 10 years old all the way to high school. And finally, we have Ma vie de, and they all have different little titles after that. The latest one is Ma vie de nachos congelés. Now that we are slowly seeing the end of Léa Olivier, we are trying to find our new flagship series, and this one has really been a massive success. So it follows Luan, who is a high schooler, and she's in a sports program that focuses on dance. But one time during one of her shows, she just collapses on stage because of a panic attack, and from then on, she has to deal with that really crippling struggle with her newfound anxiety, and she has to figure out how she's going to deal with that. And for a while, she just takes refuge in the school library because she doesn't know what else to do. And there she meets a boy, and there's a budding friendship, which as you can probably guess, ends up not only being friendship. So once again, it's all of the normal struggles that most teenagers have to go through, but also what do you do when you have to push aside your one passion? How do you reinvent yourself after that? It broaches very important and interesting topics because a lot of kids these days have to deal with anxiety and with performance anxiety. So it was really important for us that we had a character and a story that would focus on that. And yeah, we already have 35,000 copies sold for a fairly new series, which is great. It's a really good success for us. So yeah, those are the 4 series that I wanted to talk about with you guys. And if you have any questions, feel free. On the last slide here, you have our Instagram, Facebook, TikTok even. And of course, you can send me an email, or you can send an email to Marc, who might be more prone to answer the questions if it has to do with anything with numbers and stuff like that. He will be the one to contact for this. So there you go.
Hi, thank you for inviting us. Thank you, Québec Édition. Thank you, Siba. And I'm so happy to discover my colleagues' catalogs too, because we don't have that much occasions to do so. And there's gorgeous books coming, and I'm really happy to see it. So I can tell you about Planète Rebelle. It's a publishing house founded in 1997. By the storytelling and spoken word community in Montreal. So we do books for all ages, for kids and adults too. And we're starting to make books like family oriented. So starting from kids to adults. And just like La Montagne, secrète and Fonfon, we are really audio driven. So because we've been working with storytellers from the beginning, it's all of our books come with an audio version. And KATA makes climate crisis books for kids. It's for kids mostly, children and young adults. The first one I picked, and I wrote Adele's pick, but it's not my pick, it's Planète Rebelle's pick anyway. Is Adèle et la douceur from Planète Rebelle. It's the latest release from Renée Robitaille. Renée Robitaille, she's a storyteller from Quebec, and she performs all over the world. So yeah, she was a book, La Légende de Carcajou, was nominated for JJ Awards in 2017. And Sarah, she's the illustrator, she's an emerging artist from Montreal also. So Adèle et la douceur is a traditional tale about softness and the power of transmission between grandmother and a little girl, Adèle. And yes, it's called About Me. I mean, Renée Robitaille chose my name for this one, so I'm kind of proud. This one is a hardcover. I just wrote all the details of the book. I can send you PDFs if you want to see more of the books I'm going to present. And for this one, there's an audio version available for free. The second one I can present from Planète Rebelle is actually licensed. We acquired from the Coyote from Groundwood Books, so that you see we have links with the Canadian, Anglo-Canadian community. This one is a bestseller so far. It's a Thomas King book, Conte de Coyote. I'm not going to present Thomas King to you guys because I'm sure you know. Conte de Coyote is two tales, two traditional tales with very witty characters, and Thomas King is indigenous, so it's from the Cherokee community, so it's very oriented with the indigenous culture. So I said ages 7 to 107, just to say we are making more and more books for everyone, just gorgeous books you want to own and give to your kids and your grandkids from generation to generation. And La Ruée vers l'autre is kind of in the same line, books for all ages, with art cover and really a craft book and with beautiful illustrations. La Ruée vers l'autre, I'd say it's more of a young adult one. It's by the storyteller Ma Fan, she's from Quebec and La Réunion. And she collected stories from migrants coming to Montreal. And from all of these stories, she wrote short stories and tales. So La Ruée vers l'autre is a collection of those tales. So I just put all the information for Planète Rebelle here, but as you will see, it's the same contacts now because Luca is the owner of the YouTube.
Adele, we don't see when you change your slide. We only see Adele et la douceur now.
Ah, you've been from the beginning. It was like this. You haven't seen the other?
Yes.
Okay. So this is Conte de Coyote. La Ruée vers l'autre. And so I'm gonna spend a little time to present KATA. KATA Speaks. Le Jardin d'Églantine was released this year. Is by Maud Chaillet and Kayu Chen. They're both from NFB. So they're not authors, illustrators per se, but it's the first collaboration. And Le Jardin d'Églantine is about harvesting. It's a little girl, Églantine, who learns how to garden in her backyard. And this is going to be a collection called Les Cinq Sœurs, the Five Sisters, and it's the first of the series. There's also Camille Lavache from Jerry Doherty and Maria Moreno Caro. Camille is a cow and she participates in a contest, a barbecue contest, and she wins with a vegetarian burger. And so the whole point is explaining children about monoculture and deforestation, all it takes to eat meat. So it's just the idea is to get them emotionally involved with the fiction and the documentary, so that they change their behaviors for a more ecological way of life. And just like Planète Rebelle, KATA bought recently the Racconer trilogy from David A. Robertson. It was published in by High Water Press, I think, originally. And now we're going to release the first of the trilogy in June 1st. And so the Reckoner trilogy follows a character who has been living far from his community and goes back to his Cree community. And it's a very like mystery. It's a book about mystery, about supernatural powers, and it's a real page turner. And it's more young, it's a more young adult book than the two others I presented. And I can just end this presenting a little bit of our values at KATA and Planète Rebelle. We are moving toward 100% inclusive and accessible catalog. It means we're working more and more and more and more, almost exclusively with BIPOC artists and authors. And because we're making audio version, we're working toward very, very accessible audio versions. All of our books are printed in Quebec, and they're following responsible forest management. And that's all.
Hello, so I chose a really nice busy spot here. So I'm Valerie, I'm the owner and publisher at Monsieur Ed. We mainly do picture books that are maybe a little bit quirky or a bit poetic, and our public right now is between the ages of newborn to 12-ish. Eventually we'll extend that, but for now it's the range that we have. This is me, so I do pretty much everything because there's only me in the publishing house. And the first book that I want to present is called Tête de Tétard, which we loosely translated to Tadpole Head. It's a book that came out last year, and it's I would say a favorite of, it sold really well in the first 3 months. And it's, I have a few images of the inside. And it's like the little blue character, because they're called Paul and Fernand, but I can never remember which one is which. But the little blue character comes by with a big bag and full of things, and he tells his friend that this is this collection of extraordinary objects. And so he's like, his friend, of course, wants to see what they're about. And every time he picks something out of the bag, it's like something super ordinary, like a dirty towel. And the yellow character is a bit ditzy, and he'll always try to guess, and he'll always end up putting the thing on its head and going, oh, it's a hat. It's like, no, it's a magical flying carpet. Hop on. So it's a super fun book for younger kids, and because they can interact with the book, they can guess what's coming and what the object is going to turn into. It's super funny. And what was I going to say? I chose this book because, you know, it's fun. What you can do with it is actually outside of the book, you can just pick any ordinary object and try to invent something new, something different to do with the book. And that's something that we do when we do animations with the book, and it works really well with kids. They like to participate, and they come up with these super fun and weird ideas of what you can do with, I don't know, like a toy drum or something. It becomes a spaceship. So it's really interesting, and that's something that can be, I think, a cool activity for parents or in class. So you can see a little bit of what's going on. This is like a, what you call it, like a orchestra that it was like pots and pans, but actually it's like a tiny orchestra. It's really funny. There's an end. I keep saying it's funny because it's really funny. And there's the ending. There's a little twist at the end, which is I won't tell you, but you can find out by reading the book. Oh, I forgot to tell you that this book, I'll go back to the beginning, is illustrated by Audrey Malo. And she's kind of an up and coming illustrator here in Quebec. I think she's working more and more with different publishers. And Catherine Chiasson, who is also a bookseller here in Quebec, and she's a bookstore owner. So this is kind of her first picture book. And the second book I wanted to talk to you about is very different. We're in a more like kind of a emotional, feel-good type of book. It's a sweet story about Coco, and it's written by Aurélien Galvan. This is his first book. He's also, I think, he's mostly an illustrator, but with us, he works as an author also, and he started to work with a couple of other publishers, and his style is so strong. I'm pretty sure we're going to see a lot of his work in the coming years. And so this is the story of Simone, the little elephant. I didn't sleep a lot last night because I'm doing all the what you call it. See, I'm looking for my words. Usually I can talk a bit better, but I'm so tired. So here you go. So the little elephant woke up one morning and her little friend, Coco, a little bird, was gone. And so it's about loss, and it's about grief, but it's done in a very light and positive way, because the elephant will go for a walk in nature with her mom and her brothers, and she will have this idea that maybe Coco moved into a flower for some reason. So she goes to hunt for her bird, and she finds her bird, and he says, well, now I live in this other place. Come, I'll show you where I live now. So the page with the dinosaurs is a kind of a bit of where Coco lives now. And so they will go in this adventure, and the adventure is a bit, the world where the bird lives now is a bit where, you know, when you say to kids, he's gone to a better place, how would you imagine a better place for your bird? So it's all about, oh, well, Coco loved sunflowers. So at some point they go and there's a field filled with sunflowers, like gigantic sunflowers and things like that. So it's really like she goes through this adventure and she has fun with the bird, and she realizes that he's in a super good place. He's got friends, he's got interests, he's got things he loves, he can sing, he can eat, he can do whatever. And when they get to his house, he shows her that he drew her portrait to remember her, and she and they say their goodbyes, and they say, oh, I'll always be there even if you can't see me. And when she goes back home, now she's like, her mood is better, and she will also use this trick of drawing her friend to remember him by. And so it ends up on a very like positive and light note, and it's really for younger kids, and it can be used for any kind of transition period, you know, like a weekend at grandma, don't want to leave because it was so fun. It's okay, because you get to keep the memories of what you lived. So it's kind of this, there's a lot of things that can be done with this book. And my friend, well, Catherine Chiasson from the first book, her pet guinea pig just died, and she had read the book previously with her two boys, and she read it, and they understood the book as in the bird moved away. But after the death of their pet, they read the book and they just suddenly got it. they cried, but I think it was like also comforting for them to to be able to create this kind of it's okay, he's gone, but I keep all the fun memories I had with, can't remember the name of the guinea pig, but whatever. So this also is new. It came out last year. It works really well. And it's for younger kids, I would say 3 to, I think because of the subject, you can use it for a lot of a big range of ages, if I can say it like that. Oh, and this is like part of the adventure. They go through this shortcut. It's a bit more classical in style than what we usually do, but it works really well. So Tucania, you might know already because Orca bought this book, and so it exists in English. And it's by Marianne Ferrer, who you might also know because she's working a lot now. The difference is with Marianne, when she works with Monsieur Ed, she's really the creator of the books. She writes the story, even though she has an author sometimes put word, which is usually me, but so it's really her idea. She's not only the illustrator. And I chose Tucania because here I know it has a lot of success in class. I have a lot of feedback from teachers who use it because if Tucania is like Amandine, which is kind of loosely based on Marianne's family, like most of her books is mostly based on her personal history. And so Amandine, she follows in the footsteps of her grandfather, and she will go to this island filled with all kinds of, I would say, well, mythical, I want to say mythical, but they don't exist, kind of creatures that don't exist. And they're all a mix of 2 different creatures stuck together. Like, I can't remember how we translated. Oh, do I have the English version here? Yeah, I can pick it up quickly. So like, oh yeah, chimp panthers, which is like a chimp and a panther. So it's really fun. And what the teachers do in class is that they invent other creatures that can live on the island, and they ask kids to draw the creatures and or describe the creatures and like create something new that could live on Tucania. And so, and it's really, Marianne is like, her work is, like, I want to say, like, a lot of people enjoy it. I think it's pleasing for a lot of people. And so this, you can say, you can see different characters, different animals that she sees. And there's another one by Marianne Ferrer, which is her first book that she published with us, and it's called Racines, Roots. And I chose this one. It's not super popular, but it should be, because I find it really interesting. When we work, we often do like ateliers or workshops with this book, and children of we're like first generation of immigrants, and it works really well because it's like a timeline of our family history, and it's all about the people that came before her and how they made her who she is. And it's a leporello, so it's like an accordion book. It's like 16 panels, so you can just follow through time. And the way we use it in this workshop is like we ask the kids to, if your parents, they come from another country and your extended family is over there, you've maybe only seen them on Zoom or whatever, and then it's super interesting for the children to ask questions to the parents and draw what it can be like, in their country of origin, or draw the grandma and draw the family tree. And it's really fun to work with. I think there's a lot of possibilities to work with this book, and it's just also very beautiful. Most people buy it, most adults buy it for themselves. a lot of adults think that it's too fragile for kids. But I think it's an opportunity to show kids to handle books with care. So that's one. And I think this is the last one. I wasn't sure if I was going to include this because, you know, the smoking and the guns and the whole thing, but it's called Mischief in the Far West. So it uses all the codes of Western movies. And this is like an illustrated novel. And that's why I included it, because it's for an older public. It's for children 6 and up. It's 128 pages, and there's illustrations on every page, but there's also as much text as in a novel. And it's a great transitional book for kids who you don't want to read picture books anymore because they're too old and they don't want to seem like babies, but they're afraid to go directly to reading novels. And it's also a book that works really well here. It's a series. There's 3 of them. They're all published. And it's super funny. It's about a villain who is stuck in a story of villains, and he's tired of losing at the end of his story, and he wants to win. It's always the good guy that comes in the middle of the story that ends up winning. So he's tired of that, and he wants to change how the story will go. And so the guns, he doesn't really use them. He only uses them to make noise and be really annoying because that's his thing. And the cigar, it gives them really bad breath. So every time he speaks, people just like fall and they lose consciousness because his breath is so bad. And his name we will never know. I don't know if I think I didn't show any pictures of how much text there is, but in the text there's I don't know, can we see me? Yeah, you can still see me a little bit, because
Yes.
I show the actual book, and every time he says his name there's a crow going "Krah!" And so we never know what his name is because his name is so horrible that it hurts when you hear it. And the crows, they follow him around, and every time he says my name is Bra, they go "Krah!" And so we never know. So it's super funny. Even adults love this series. And yeah, what happens, I can tell you at the end, is that you see on the first picture that he teaches his horse to smoke cigars, and at the end something happens. The horse runs into the desert and the cigars flies to over there, and it burns a hole in the page of the book. And he sees that there's another story on the other side of the book, of the page. And so in the second book they will cross over to that story, and so he understands now that maybe he has a chance to win in this other story. But then the other story will be a whole other thing, which is the yellow book, where he will fall in love, and then he will forget his quest to win, and he will meet his nemesis. And in the third book, you see it takes place mostly in Sioux village. We have had the book read by a how do you say this in English? Like a dramaturge, like a writer from God, I'm looking for my words. But we've had the book revised by a person from the First Nations and also an anthropologist, and they gave us their recommendations about how to adjust the text to be respectful, but also to keep the spirit of the series. That, like, we're working with cliches of the Westerns, and we will learn in this third book that actually the heroes his mother was from the Sioux Nation. The little kid you see there is actually him when he was a kid, because he goes back to the story of his beginning. So it's really fun like that. It's a fun story. It works super well for all the kids. And there you go. This is our stuff there. My name. If you are interested, you have any questions, feel free to write directly to me. And yes, thank you. This was Monsieur Ed.
Happy to be with you this evening, and it was really a pleasure to hear you all speak about your books, because we don't have the occasion to hear the publisher speak about their own book, and it's so inspiring. Some of this book you spoke about, I love them, and it's interesting to have your pick on it. So thank you so much. I'm very happy to present the publishing house with whom I work. It's called Les Éditions Héritage. We are a very old publishing house for kids, because it was founded in 1968 by the dad of our director. So it's a family-owned company. And along the way, they founded another publishing house that you may know maybe better, because it's sometimes more well-known in Canada, Dominique et compagnie. So it was 25 years ago. And we are making books for kids from the birth to forever, 77-year-old. I don't know. We publish for teenager too, and also for young adults. So we have a variety of books. We publish a lot of books because during a year we might publish 70 to 100 books. I'm not doing that alone. Thank you. I have wonderful colleagues, but it was difficult to choose the books I will present for you this evening. But we voted and we chose 5. You may also know our books already, because a lot of our books have been translated in English. Or sometimes we work with a Quebec author who publish also in English. So, for example, there is Les Bourriffés, My Other Days, that it's published by Groundwood, and it's Nathalie Dion. It's an artist from Quebec. It was her first book that she ever wrote. She's an illustrator. You might also know Lily Macaroni, Je suis comme je suis, de Nicole Testa et Annie Boulanger, that I know is very popular in French immersion. It has been published by Pajama Press. You, I'm sure, know Marie-Louise Gay books. We published the work of Marie-Louise since 30 years, maybe more. So you have here any question, Un million de questions, Où es-tu Sydney? I'm not Sydney. A book in English I published by Groundwood. And under the screen that I don't manage to push, but maybe you see it, Le Gros Monstre qui aimait trop lire, which is one of our classic of all time, and by Lily Chartrand, and Vieux Thomas et la Petite Fée by Dominique Demers, who are like some books that we are publishing and still have success since maybe 20 years. So I will begin with a new book that just published. We received it last week. And it's really like very important for us, because this book we have been making it during the pandemic. It was hope during the pandemic, I have to say, because it's such a bright book. It's made by Roxane Turcotte and Lucie Crovato. And the illustrator, Lucie Crovato, she's also like the artistic director of this book. And it's about slowness, taking time, being together, doing the things, like seeing the life slowly and enjoying every instant. It's a story between a granddaughter and a grandfather. And the granddaughter is visiting a grandfather, and the grandfather doesn't do the same thing as she's used to. For example, when he wants to eat, he doesn't go to the restaurant. He begins to peel carrots and potatoes, and he makes a soup when he wants to go somewhere, he doesn't take his car. He's walking to places. So it's really like a discovery of time differently. I wanted to show you the book, but I don't know if you will see so much, but maybe I will share my screen and show it to you so you see much, so that I will like come back to you and because I want you to see better. So it's you see that when they cook the soup, so they peel the carrots. It's a wonderful book. So they do the soup. It's so good. It's the best soup in the world. They walk. At the moment, they just like take a boat, and the kid asks, how fast will you go to the island? And he said, well, it depends, because I have to row the boat and my arms are not very strong, you know, so I have to go slowly. So it's really like an enchantment for us. It's we are very proud because we have published that with papers at Post Consommation. It's really, we published in Quebec. And okay, it's about the hourglass of Papy Jo and how it can change our life to take a little bit of time to see what's around us and to spend the day with someone we love. So I think we can all relate to that. So I will share my screen again with you and go back to the diaporamas. Yes. So I was speaking to you about Marie-Louise Gay works. That is her latest book. So Où es-tu Sydney, which is I'm Not Sydney in English, so you may know. So it was published in March, so it's very recent. Marie-Louise is really wonderful to size what the children think. You know, she's an adult, of course, but she has the mind of a little child. I would see. She see all the thing, all the details, all the game you can do in daily life. And she speaks about kids who are playing outside and they are playing to be animals. So Sydney is a sloth. So he's going very slowly, you know, he's very slow. But there is also his friend with a spider monkey, and she's going very fast. And she's running around. And each kid picks an animal and they are playing. And at a moment, parents call and say, it's time for supper, go home. But when they go home, they don't stop to play and they continue to be the animals. It's really like an enchanting book full of little details as Marie-Louise can give us. And it's really charming. I will maybe, if I have time, I will share some page with you after. I wanted to show you this book series that you might also know, because it's School of Monsters. It's like really a bestseller in, I think, in Canada and the US. So we translate it in French. It's part of a book for first reader. So it's like to teach them how to read alone. It's written by Sally Ripin, which also like the author you might know from Billy B. Brown, that we translated also in French, in Lily B. Brown. We work a lot with R.D. Grant, which is an Australian publisher. We really love to work with them. What is interesting is that we have also like books for like kind of activities books to learn how to speak French. It's really wonderful for French immersion and for like beginning, like to begin to read, in fact. So you can see it's this kind of book with a lot of illustrations, a little bit of word. And at the end, there is also a game where you can play with words and also learn how to draw the characters. So, of course, it's a story of a school where each kid is a monster and they have all their personalities, their little quirks, their little problems. And it's a lot about emotion and living in society and understanding the other and learning how to be yourself. So we published already 8 titles. There is more to come. We have a very good reception for this series. It's really like books that makes the kid feel good because they are able to read alone, but you can also read with them because it's so nice to read aloud. I wanted to show you like these books from Héritage Jeunesse. It's for older kids. It's donc Terre Sauvage, Wilderness. It's for the collection is Sphinx. This collection is very special because it's a book, but it's also a game. So you can, you have like at each chapter, you have to resolve like an enigma to find the next chapter. It's all written at the you, so it's a you. There is no name of character. You are the character, and it's all written at the second person. So it's very like an immersive books. The kids really love it in the school. The teacher also use it a lot. It's very good for kids who don't love or so much to read alone yet, who didn't find the books that make them, enjoy to read. So it's written in enough big character, and this one are for age 9+, but we have also for older kids. Each time there is a mystery, it's adventure. This time in this book, you are stuck in the Caribbean island because after a storm, and you are lost in a supposedly like alone, but maybe not so alone. So you will have to find your way on the island to escape and maybe survive. So it's written by Paul Roux, which is a wonderful author. He has a lot of imagination. It's coming from Ottawa. And he's also an illustrator. And he's really know to make suspense work. And finally, I wanted to present you Comme un ouragan, like a hurricane, de Jonathan Bécotte. It will be soon published by Orca with a title Like a Hurricane. The cover will be different, though. It's collection called Unique, which is for kids at the end of elementary school and the beginning of high school. And we speak about the emotion we have when we grow up and different things that is very autobiographical. The authors speak about what they felt, and it's very close to the art of the emotion of a young teenager. In this one, Jonathan Bécotte tell about how he managed to come out and to say he's gay, and how he felt that he has a hurricane in his heart that wanted to go out and was impeding him to breathe because it was so big and he couldn't say to anybody. And how he managed finally to say his truth to his family, to his friend. So it's a lot about that, the emotion of saying who we are. It's a novel, but it's also poetry. And these books, they have a very, very wonderful layout, it's not like you see the word as are like presented, so we understand the emotion of the narrator. There is not a lot of word on each page, but it's really like it's poetry. You can they are very meaningful, and you understand better the emotion of the author by seeing it on the paper. So it's a very popular collection. We have already a few titles published. Comme un Ouragan is the first, but we discuss about very many topics like divorce of parents, dispute in the family, the fact of feeling that you are different, the death of a brother. So it's really a collection that express difficult subject, but for the teenager, and they can identify easily. So you see, it's me, Mathilde. You have all your information. Don't hesitate to write. I will be happy to share with you PDF and a lot of pedagogical information. It was a pleasure to speak to you, and I hope you will enjoy this book.
Okay, so thank you for having me tonight. It's a pleasure to speak to CIBA members, and thank you to Québec Édition also for inviting us. I'm working for Bayard Canada, which is a publishing house that has been founded actually in the 90s. It started with magazine. We actually started distributing and adapting French magazine. You probably know J'aime lire. We have Mes Premiers J'aime lire, Poppy, and we actually started also working with Les Débrouillards at some point in the 90s. And so it started that way. And then we started publishing picture books and young books for readers. As of today, we publish books for all kind of readers, 0 to 18 years old. We publish picture books. We also have, we have like even the Passepartout series, which is a popular TV shows here in Quebec. We have that. We publish like beautiful picture books. We have comic books for first readers, intermediate novels. So I'm just showing you like the wide array that we have, and we go up to teenagers with short novels and big novels and young adult novels too. And so we have a really wide range of books that we publish every year. From the magazine, we also publish some comic books that are usually in the magazine every month. So we do some compilations, collected editions of these comic strips. And so you can find that. Today, I'm going to be focusing on 4 books. You can see them right there. There's more than 4 books because 2 of them are actually series. I'll start first with the picture books here. It's a new book that came out 2 months ago, Drôle de Zèbre, so funny zebras, I would translate that. This is a story about acceptance and difference and refugees, actually. So we have a little black and white zebras that lives on one side of a river, and on the other side, you can see there is some red zebras. And so at some point, there will be a storm, huge storm on the other side, and there's a little which one? Okay, here. There's a little red zebra that will cross the river, which is forbidden. So a little black and white zebra will take care of this little red zebra. And at some point, some colors will pop up in the white and black world of the little regular zebra, I would say. Not regular, but. And, the red zebra tells stories of his world filled with red things, and the old zebras in the black and white village doesn't really like that. It's different, and they're not really eager with that, but they will they will like it at some point because the colors will be beautiful and it will bring beauty to their world. And so at some point they will like it. Some other colored zebra will also come to their sides, a blue one, a yellow one, and it will fill their world with color. And once these zebras will go back to their place because the storm is over, the old zebras will be a bit sad actually that they asked them to leave. So they will build a bridge for all the zebras to come back and fill their world with joy and beauty. So it's a really beautiful book by written by Mathilde Perrault-Archambault and illustrated by Catherine. Catherine, it's his first picture books. She actually self-published two little comics books in the past, but this is her first picture books for kids. So we're really glad to have her on board with that one. After that, we publish nonfiction books too. I talked a lot about novels and comic books, but we also have nonfiction, a lot of nonfiction actually. This one is actually Le Monde Selon, the world according to children's like you. So it is 12 portrait biography of young kids from 5 to 12, and they actually speak about their own world, where they come from, who they are, what they like, their bedrooms, what it looks like. So it's really fun for kids to look at other kids their age with different backgrounds and learn about those, and actually maybe identify to some of these kids. We have a colleague who has a kid 9 years old. He looked at one of the portraits. He was like, "Hey, this is like my friend," which is very fun to see that they can relate to the kids in the book. This is also a web series that you can find on Télé-Québec website, so you can actually see these kids move and talk. It is. Those are the picture inside are beautiful pictures by Michael Temer, which is the author and photographer. So beautiful pictures, so kids can relate to other. Also, after that, we have this is a collection that's called Zebra. So you can see like a little link to our picture book there. The Zebra collection is this is the most popular collection at Bayard Canada. We have 27 titles as of now. We're going to publish more and more every year. This is a very well known collection from kids here. This is for kids 10 to 14, so end of elementary school and beginning of high school. I will focus on this series, which is un parfum de fausses nouvelles and a parfum de radio poubelle. So maybe like a scent of fake news and a scent of trash radio. In the first, the first one, the one about fake news, we follow a guy that is actually involved in the school paper, and he's really he likes journalism. He likes to do well-researched articles, but they are not really popular with the kids around. They prefer like the rumors section, and so he will actually launch a YouTube channel to spread fake news and see if it gets more traction. It does actually, but it doesn't really go well. He actually spreads a lot of hate because this is what fake news is about. And it will actually come back to haunt him. That novel doesn't end well, so that's why there's a second one. In the second one, his best friend actually banned him from the paper, so he won't be working anymore in the school paper. He will turn to the school radio. But while he does that, there is a podcast that starts spreading like hate speech, really, really bad things. And he will actually investigate the podcast to reveal who is behind it and actually stop the spread of hate. So it's really two actual subject, really, really, really important to speak to that about that to kids, because they need to be aware of what's going on the internet, starting at 10, I would say, but also later. And so these novels are really dynamic. I will show you a bit of the pages inside. There's illustration. So you have like a little quiz here with the wrong answer. So there's a lot of bubbles. I don't know if you see well. There's yeah, a lot of illustrations in there. So it's really a dynamic collection. We have sold over 100,000 copies of that collection. So it's really, really well known and popular here. Yeah, 27 and counting. After that, the last book I'll talk about is actually a trilogy. So it's 3 books, and it's one of the most popular thing we have here at Bayard Canada. It's a chronique post-apocalyptique d'une enfant sage. So I would translate that the post-apocalyptical chronic of a quiet girl. And there's chronique post-apocalyptique d'une jeune entêtée and garçon perdu. So 3 short novels, really, really, really well written. This is actually very beautiful to read. The layout inside is very light. So you have like few words on each page. It's really cut in like the sentences. So you have like a little bit of poetry as well. So the story is actually, there's a neutronic experiment somewhere in the world that goes wrong. And there's like a neutronic wave that wipes the world, but not everyone. There's some people that survive the wave, and so we follow Astrid. Her parents actually sacrifice themselves to save the little girl. So she's orphaned now. She's going to find actually a safe place to live, because there's going to be violence in that new world where there's only survivors, and they want to survive actually. And so she'll find, which is very nice, she'll find a safe place in a library actually, and she will use the books as a post-apocalyptic internet. And so this is a really, really nice setup. And she will actually, we follow her in the way she actually take back her life, and she tries to make it normal. In the second volume, we follow another young girl that is in a camp actually, and when that happens, and she will survive, and she will come back to Montreal and eventually meet our first girl in the novel. She's coming back to Montreal to actually hope to find her parents still alive in the city. And in the third novel, we follow Hatsin, which is a young guy who lost his parents and little brother in the cataclysm. And so we will follow him as he joined a gang. And there's a little bit of violence in there, but you will also find the library and the 2 little girls there, and he will actually find a future to embrace. So yeah, that's the novels I wanted to talk about today. So I hope, thank you for listening. I hope it wasn't boring.
Bonjour, hello everyone. I guess I'm the caboose at the end of the train, and it's fitting for someone from the Maritime Province. So Bouton Acadie has been doing children's book for 25 years now. And we just put out, to celebrate this anniversary, which is quite important. We have about a backlist of 300 titles. We've put out a paper catalog. I know paper catalogs. Oh, who does that now? But I think it's quite a particular catalog because it has become a little bit like a yearbook. So we have photographs, a gallery of our authors, etc. So if ever you want to know more about us, of course, there's a wonderful website, very useful, easy, friendly. But if you'd like to have something in your hands, I'd be happy to send them over if you like. And Bouton d'Or is, we've been publishing, as I said, for 25 years, en français, in New Brunswick, in Moncton. And so therefore, I think we're particularly suited to travel, to have our books travel and present in your bookstores, because we're very sort of representative, I think, of your market, of the people who are coming in. We are from a bilingual province. We have to deal with all kinds of language issues, immigration issues, just like everyone else across the country. And I think we do it very well. Our schools are inclusive. So we work with children in classrooms in very interesting and rich environment. So perhaps you'd like to discover us. Now, maybe the first years of Bouton d'Or were more turned towards storytelling, folk tales, but now we really handle a whole lot of contemporary issues. But we do it, we feel, with kind of elegance and a trust in beauty. The beauty within children, the beauty within our writers and illustrators who come from all over the world, basically. Though we stress and work very much with local authors here and illustrators, but we have Québécois, well-renowned Québécois authors and illustrators work with us. But from France also, French Africa, the Francophonie across the world, basically. So that's just an overview of Bouton d'Or. And I tried to follow the rules and picked only 5 books, but oh, that was very difficult. Now, my first pick, and basically, though we rarely do translations, we really believe that children, whether they are learning French or francophones or francophiles, that they should read as much as possible francophone authors. But in this case, and I'm sure most of you, the booksellers know Sherry Fitch, but it was very hard not to translate her for first time in French. So a wonderful book on mental health by Sherry Fitch, and wonderful illustration, prize-winning illustration by Emma Fitzgerald, who worked for many years in Vancouver, but who's now back on the East Coast. And yours truly did the translation. So I'm not going to dwell on that too much. It's sort of, what is it in English? Drumming my own drum, something like that. But anyway. But I think this is an interesting book at this time where we really need to talk about mental health issues. And now there it is en français. Next pick, Un bisou coquelicot. So a poppy kiss. And if you read there, cling, clang, clang to the rhythm of Grandpa's medals, Ali discovers Remembrance Day. So a book that will be out in September to talk about that 11th of November to the little ones. So Ali goes visiting her arrière-grand-père, great-granddad, starts to fiddle a little bit with his medals and learn what this is all about. Beautifully illustrated by Jean-Luc Trudel and written by Marie-France Comeau, who has been a favorite storyteller and animateur, children's performer, and has traveled quite extensively in Normandy. So she's brought some stories back from Normandy. And some of you might know that on the shores of Dieppe this year, they're celebrating the 80th anniversary so there's hardly any of the veterans left. And we've kept a little bit of what they had to say in the story. Beautiful 24-page full illustration. And Jean-Luc Trudel is a well-loved Québécois illustrator. Now, something that Bouton d'Or has been doing since 2002, so I think it was kind of groundbreaking then, not so much anymore, but we published books in Mi'kmaq, or Wolastoqey, Passamaquoddy. So in first language nations from the Atlantic provinces, French and English, all on the same page. And we've often been told by elders how touched they were to see the three languages of the country on the same page, not as translations, but really living together. Now, this book is particularly special because it is the story of the honor song. You might have heard of Yo-Yo Ma and Jeremy Dutcher getting together and doing some work around this honor song, which is now being used in many ceremonies across Canada. It comes from George Paul, who was a Mi'kmaq who went to a residential school in Nova Scotia and Shubenacadie, was quite broken by this whole thing in his life, his loss of culture, but regained confidence little by little as he traveled, worked with First Nation people in the West, and eventually, and always he felt that there was something in his heart that was inhabiting him, and bit by bit, this song started building in him, and out came the honor song, which is now a song of joy and of resistance, resilience, and growth. So, Le Chant d'Honneur, the honor song, and it will be ready in October. And Loretta Gould is a wonderful painter from the Mi'kmaq Nation in Cape Breton. So I think it's going to be pretty spectacular, and we're quite excited about it. Another pick, C'est pour cirque, des lettres et des mots sous le chapiteau. So under that wonderful big top, what do we have? Letters, words, and magic. So you lift the cover of the tent and you discover just absolutely incredible text, each one with a letter, like the famous abécédaire. I'm sure there's an ABC book. And we have a whole collection of these ABC books, and they're all done by wonderful artists, in this case, Daniela Zekina. It's a wonderful Montreal painter. So I think this book is going to be most interesting. And there's all kinds of things, of course, you can do with a ABC book. It will please younger ones, but adults who are wanting to learn the language, who want to discover, practice. The texts are short, and every time you have that letter, whether it's C or D or B for beautiful, every time the letter is in color, so you can pick the letters as you go. And finally, fifth book, Adélaïde au couvent, de Québec à la Mecque. That's one of our novels, a first time for Chantal Duguay-Mallet, who has written up to now some very successful books for little ones, a whole series. But in this case, she's written quite an amusing story. I would say it's a little bit of an Acadian Anne of Green Gables, because Adélaïde is very mischievous, and she's actually chased away 3 housekeepers from her father's big house in Quebec, where she lives. Her father is a notaire in Quebec, and it's the start of the war. Her mother is in a sanatorium because of tuberculosis, and the father throws his head, not his head, you can't throw your head in the air, but his arms in the air, and says, okay, we're sending you to a convent. So I think this is going to be really neat, and it's going to catch the imagination of many, many kids, because what is a convent? How can you send your kid away to a boarding school? And so off she goes, and she's not too pleased with it. And it's a very long trip at that time from Quebec to La Mecque. La Mecque is a tiny little island with a beautiful, beautiful beach and a wonderful lighthouse. But to get there, you have to take the train, from Quebec to Bathurst, you board, a car picks you up, and then you have to cross on a ferry, and then a cart pulled by a horse will bring you to the convent. So you could just imagine what's going on in her head. And she's a violin player, and music kind of helps her through all of this, and her curiosity and her courage kind of just brings everything in a really kind of interesting end. But she's really someone to work with. And there is a mysterious death of a child in the convent. So there's also mystery and adventure. There's fishermen. So just a beautiful, beautiful, interesting novel. I think it will go far. So that's the roundup. I mean, I could talk about many, many other titles, but I hope you'll be curious enough to find out about us. And you can either go on our website or write us, call us. We'd be just really happy to discuss with you.